Today, we're looking at Robert Oster's Purple Soul, or Purple Jazz, as it used to be known. Now, Robert Oster's Purple Soul is a purple ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Lamy All-Star with a 1.1 stub to take my notes for this video. Now, before we get to the writing samples, let's look at the sciencey bits. Up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see that this purple pushes its way up as normal, but then it's got this really nice like highlighter blue across the top, like a highlighter turquoise, if more than the blue. Now the one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And the line across the bottom is slightly darker, but only slightly. It's really not much. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handled itself amazingly well. That extra fine is still an extra fine. There's no blowout, no blurriness, no smear of any of the ink. This is great for note-taking if you like to go back and highlight. Which leads to the unsurprising result with water. Water only picked up the darkest of the purple and left a ton of the rest of it behind. Pen Flush, thankfully, is completely removing this ink from the page. It is a nice white circle, easily seeing the dots of the Rhodia dot pad. Bleach is completely removing it from the paper, but it's leaving this yellow staining behind, and you see some of that turquoise that was at the top of the chromatography there. But I don't think you need a 1/3 bleach solution to get this out of your pen. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Robert Oster's Purple Soul has a viscosity of 1.58, making this a very wet ink getting into that red region. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I've found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Robert Oster's Purple Soul has an average dry time of 14 seconds, making it normal, just normal. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It has some nice shading spots going on, like the downstrokes in the P of purple, the bottom of the O in Oster, the downstrokes of the R in Robert. They're a nice lighter tone, and the rest of it is very dark. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, no real shading. 9 seconds to dry. No real shading at all. Medium. No feather spread, halo sheen. There's a spot or two of some shading. It's about the same tone as the extra fine in the 1.1. Quick looks like a lighter word than lazy. Brown is a nice light word. Fox starts light and gets dark. Jumps starts light and gets dark. So it's not bad here. 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both. The extra fine shows almost no color variation. We really didn't get it. The medium shows some, and we do get some. And a smear test you could likely recover if you smeared while you were writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding. Of course we get ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. It's the nicest purple that we get again on the Tomoe River. I think I just like how some of the inks look with the cream background. I think it maybe makes some of the colors stand out better The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 14 seconds to dry. The medium is the exact same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 30 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. And the smear test, I don't think you could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. And I'm looking at the screen and it looks like the medium is showing some color variation here. I don't see it in person, I'm seeing it on screen, so I just want to be clear about that, but it's not in the writing. Rhodia. Rhodia has no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is slightly lighter than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen. It has some spots of shading going on, which aren't too bad. Like the K in quick is a bit darker. The LA is darker than the ZY in lazy. The starts very dark and gets to a mid-tone. Brown starts dark and works its way light. So we get some nice shading here, and 10 seconds to dry. Now the medium is a darker tone, dark like the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine and the medium show no color variation, but we do see some in the extra fine writing. The smear test, you could definitely recover this if you smeared while you were writing. TWSBI notebooks. No bleeding, some ghosting, not too bad. The 1.1, very dark, with no feathers, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is the exact same tone as the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine and the 1.1 with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 10 seconds to dry. Lost my place in my head. The scrubby for both show no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. In the smear test, you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Alrighty. Leuchtturm. Nice. Leuchtturm 1917 paper. No bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade. The extra fine is a noticeably lighter tone with no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and with that much lighter tone, we do get some shading that goes on. The T in the is much darker than the rest of the word. Quick starts dark, gets light, and gets dark again. Brown starts dark and works its way light. Over is a noticeably lighter word than the word jumps, and 7 seconds to dry. So maybe that means a drier nib is the way to go with this ink. Medium is a darker tone, much darker, darker than the 1.1. The medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, and we do get some color variation. The medium shows none, and we got none. The smear test, you could recover that. You could recover it if you smeared while you were writing. 28 pound premium copy paper. The medium bleeds, but it does not bleed all the way through. It comes through a lot, absolutely not through the page. It does not make the back of the page unusable for, I'm going to say, most humans. The extra fine does very good for people. The scrubby starts to come through because I'm an animal. The medium has no spread, but it has tiny little feathers all over it. It has no halo, sheen, or shade. The extra fine is the same tone as the 1.1, or the medium. It has no spread, no feathers, no halo, sheen, no shade, 1 second to dry. The scrubby shows us that we could get some color variation. You look far left to far right, and you should be able to get some color variation, but we don't. And the smear test, you definitely can't smear this. Look at that. Amazing. That is all that I have for the writing. Instead of finding inks that look like Robert Oster's Purple Soul, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And I chose Diamine's Grey because it's a very nice neutral tone. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Robert Oster's Purple Soul? This is definitely a blue leaning very purple as a tone. But it has a lot of that blue coming through. Now, it shades very well, but I have a problem with some of the color. I would prefer it to be a blue or a purple. It performs very well, and if this color speaks to you, it's awesome. I just would prefer a one or the other in this particular case. Thanks for watching.